All right, welcome back to On Texas Football. Welcome to the Monday night live stream here at On Texas Football. Little bit of a lineup change tonight for the Monday night live stream. Rod Babers is out. Rod and I have swapped live stream, so you'll get Rod Babers on Wednesday night. I am in tonight for Rod. CJ Vogel is traveling back to the great state of Texas, but riding shotgun with me tonight, as he is every Monday night here with the normal winning drive crew, is my coach, your coach, our coach, Bob Shipley. Coach, I thought I did something pretty rough today, which that was car shopping, which can be a beating. Coach, you went through something that in life, I think it is a beating of the highest order, something you did today.
Yeah. Notice the new setting around me. Sorry, this room is probably echoey. Don't have much stuff in here yet, but I moved today. But here's the deal, Jeff. I moved next door. That's even worse.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many steps I get in today, but I am so tired. Plus, today's my anniversary. So we just got there. I ordered Outback, went and picked it up, and we had a good meal after a long day of moving, and we got day 2 tomorrow. They got to go to storage and get our stuff out of storage. So, golly.
Heck of an anniversary present.
Yeah. Did you find a car, by the way?
No, not today, but I got a lead on one that I think we may be looking at. And it's one of those deals, Coach. It's the wife's car. So the guys at the dealerships are asking me, well, what are you doing? You're asking the wrong person. I ain't the one driving it. So yeah, it's hopefully we get it sorted out. But yeah, coach moved, but we're talking Texas football. We're taking your questions, comments, concerns, airing of grievances, whatever you got. We'll take it, line it up in the chat. Super chats, as always, jump to the front of the line. Joe Z, I just now got your message on the site, so I will look into that once we're done. Marco, I do not have an NIL deal to where I can get one of those Lambos. Now, Bobby and I haven't talked about that, Coach. I would settle for I don't know, I'd settle for something. I'm not even asking for a Lambo. That's, I don't know. You gotta be Bijan Robinson level talent, Coach, to get you a Lambo NIL deal.
Yeah.
That I am most certainly not.
Well, just thank goodness you're not in the minivan days. That was a beatdown, a minivan with a sliding door. Oh, man.
You know, I wish we'd go, and it's safety concerns, Coach. I wish we'd go back to the full-size van where you could have, like, the card table in the middle of the deal, you know? I wish we could go back to that. And I think about that, like, you know, Little League baseball trips. Everybody load up into the van and play go fish or whatever on the way to the game. Yeah, that safety precautions would frown upon that at this point, but such is life. All right, we've got a lot to get to, Coach. I want to get your take on a couple of things in the sports world right now. Got a national championship baseball game going tonight. North Carolina. People know I'm working on a live stream. My apologies. North Carolina and Oklahoma are playing in the best of 3. Got the do or die game tonight. This is different, Coach. It's not a state of Texas team, which we talked about before, but it is an SEC team, but it's Oklahoma. Are you rooting for Oklahoma because of the conference affiliation? That's just a straight up no, not happening. It's a non-starter for you, Coach.
Heck no. There's no way I'm rooting for OU. However, I say that's not exactly true because I coached a quarterback at Abilene Christian several years ago, a long time ago, and his brother played baseball at ACU. His brother Britt Bonneau was the head baseball coach at Abilene Christian for several years, and he's coaching at OU now as an assistant coach. So, you know, that's kind of tough. I worked with Britt for a while when I was coaching at ACU as well, and he's a great guy, but it's still hard to root for the Sooners. You know, I don't know.
And Coach, I forget, when in your time working at Texas, did you and Skip Johnson ever cross paths? I know you guys worked.
No, we never. No, well, I just met him, but I didn't have a relationship with him at all.
You know, Skip's good people, but yeah, I can't. It goes against every fiber of my being, everything I feel like I stand for as a man, Coach, to root for Oklahoma and anything. So I'm glad we're on the same page. If Skip wins, I'll be happy for him, but I'm not waving that crimson and white flag tonight.
No, I'm not either.
Not happening. So, Coach, I want to get your thoughts on this too. We got the baseball thing out of the way, and we'll see if we can get you maybe some baseball updates here as we go on throughout the night. But Coach, Bobby and Rod and I tackled this topic today here on the channel, and it's an interesting topic because the New York Times came out, the Athletic came out with an article, given some reasoning to back up the thought. Did college football peak in the 1990s? Was in the 1990s the peak time for college football? And they gave a lot of reasons, but they came out and said, hey, when college football peaked for you, it probably depends on how old you were. More of that. Did the team you root for, were they good? That's probably when college football peaked. So, Coach, I want to know for you, when college football at its best? What year, what era are we talking about?
You know, I don't necessarily go along with that because, you know, I'm an offensive guy and I love the spread, you know, and the game is much more exciting now. I would say pre-NIL, you know, I mean, that was more pure football, you know, to me. Now it's like, you know, it's just different. I still enjoy it. I still watch it, and I love college football. But you know, I just love the offenses, you know, that we've seen since, you know, Vince Young came on the scene, and Greg Davis, and just the way that offenses had evolved. But you know, you'd think being an old coach, I would like to, you know, run it down your throat, kind of smash some stuff, play action, good defense, which I love good defense. But and 90s was not for me. It was, right. You know, of course, it's hard for me to look at it and separate, you know, from, you know, Jordan and Colt McCoy and that group in 08 and 09. I mean, that was obviously a special time, you know, for us, and a special time for all Texas fans. But yeah, I'm going to say the modern era of the spread offense is to me, before NIL was the peak to me.
Yeah, well, you know, Coach, I've watched enough of your teams play over there, even your Burn It teams back when you had Stephen McGee and Jordan. You guys, if you look at it now compared to probably, Coach, when you were at Belton, you probably weren't throwing it as much, but at the time, it's like, man, they can really air it out. They're really throwing the ball all over the place. So it's just interesting how you look at it from one time to the next. But you know, I've said this before. I grew up a Texas fan. I grew up in the Austin area, so Texas was my pro team. The newspapers and TV stations it covered Texas like an NFL team. So I grew up a Texas fan. So for me, yeah, when I think about it, and Bobby and Rod and I we talked about this while we were recording today. We talked about it off the air. For me, college football, I think, peaks, and I can pinpoint the exact time. If you look at from the end of the 1995 season, when Texas went into College Station and beat Texas A&M to win the last Southwest Conference championship, from then right up until Colt gets hurt against Alabama, that specific time frame, Coach, is probably peak college football for me.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think that's a very accurate assessment. I agree with you.
We got a super chat coming in. Brandon Morgan with the super chat says, Jeff and Coach, y'all are great to watch as always. Hook 'em, Brandon. Thank you for the super chat.
Hey, thanks, Brandon.
Greatly appreciated.
I can't fit that helmet on back there of Jordan's. So don't, I mean, 200, and I don't have my trash can to put on my chef's hat tonight. So, but we'll still welcome the big dollar super chats. But I can't fit that helmet on my big melon.
Coach, I'm going to go ahead and guess from the time you played to probably your last year, Coach, in high school when you were, you know, you guys were issuing helmets. I'm going to guess helmet technology came a pretty long way.
Yeah, yeah, but it doesn't matter what kind of technology you use. This melon is not fitting in that helmet.
You know, I had people don't believe me, Coach, but I had a buddy in high school got cut from the baseball team because they didn't have a helmet big enough to fit him. He wore like a size 8 fitted hat was too small for him. And I was like, well, I don't know, you gonna call the Yankees or something, see if you can special order something? I don't know, but they got cut because they couldn't find a helmet to fit him. True story, not lying about that. Brian P says, I did love the I formation though. Well, Coach, I'm kind of with you. You know, I love, you know, I think everybody that loves ball loves to a certain extent. You love smash mouth, just hard nose, run the football, stop the run. There to me is something beautiful about watching Tom Osborne's Nebraska teams at their peak, the way they could run an option with the precision they ran it with. But, you know, Coach, there's a reason why, to me, I still think all these years later, the greatest Texas OU game I ever saw was that 2008 game. It was a 45-35. And to me, it's the perfect mix of you got enough defensive highlights in there. Both teams could run the ball a little bit, but at its core, you got Colt on one side, Sam Bradford on the other side, and it's surgical like precision throwing the football. That's what we're talking about. Everybody loves the I formation. We all love smash mouth ball, Coach, but I'm with you. I love offense, I love numbers, and the TV product from that era on has been much more enjoyable to watch, I think, than college football.
And by the way, that 2008 game, Chris Obaniah had a great game, a big run to clinch the game for Texas. And I got to agree, that was an amazing atmosphere, an amazing game. Of course, I'm a little biased. I'm a little biased, but Jordan. Anytime anybody asks Jordan about his career, they always ask about that kickoff return against OU in 08.
One of the greatest plays in the history of this program. Chris Obadiah, Coach, criminally underrated running back.
Oh, no doubt.
Texas.
Oh, by the way, he came in as a wide receiver. I don't know if you realize that.
Yep.
A lot of people may not realize that. He came in when Jordan came in as a wide receiver. Another great running back that came in at a different position.
I think, if I remember right, Coach, I think the wide receiver group, Jordan's year, and you can correct me if I may be missing the name, but I guess you could technically count Ramonce in that group, but Myron Hardy was a high school running back that was recruited to play receiver. Chris Obaniah and Jordan. Hey, between those four guys, Ramonce probably should have played in the NFL. Chris Obaniah didn't. Obviously,
there's no doubt. There's no doubt Ramonce should have played in the NFL. And Quan Cosby wasn't a high school wide receiver either.
Right.
I believe he was a quarterback. Is that right?
He did a little bit. He did a little bit of everything at Mart. I remember we were scouting some teams, and we got a hold of a Mart video in my Florence America days, and we were just watching it, and I'm thinking, you think, Coach, at 16, 17, you're like, we'll play anybody, and you watch Mart for about 10 seconds. Like, I'm glad those guys ain't on the schedule, because I don't know what we do if we had to line up against Quan Cosby and those guys. So good stuff. We'll take your questions on Peak College football, anything else you got. But right now, I want to thank one of our sponsors here on the Monday Night Live stream. That's our friends over at Von Lane. Longhorn fans, if you're in between the Woodlands and North Houston, if you're in that's your neck of the woods, listen up. Von Lane just launched a new route between Austin and the Woodlands, and you can book trips right now through October. That means football season is covered. No more white knuckling it down 290. No more fighting for parking. Just riding a first-class leather seat, connect to Starlink Wi-Fi, grab a cold drink, and show up at the game ready to go. But it's not just for game days. That's a perfect route for business travelers heading to Austin for meeting state government work, or if you're going to the UT campus. For folks in Austin, it's a straight shot to the Woodlands for concerts, family visits, or business in the area without dealing with Houston traffic. And here's what you're not paying for on Von Lane: bag fees, seat assignments, any of the nickel and dime nonsense the airlines have cooked up. Everything is included on Von Lane. Wi-Fi, snacks, beverages, hot towel service, complimentary meals on select departures. You boarded a private hotel terminal with no TSA lines. Von Lane connects to Austin, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Fort Worth, Plano, the Woodlands, Nashville, Memphis, and Atlanta. Book at vonlane.com and enter the code OTF26. That's OTF26 at checkout for $20 off of your first ride. Von Lane, it's a private jet on wheels. All right, Cisco Diaz says Kwame Cavill came in as a linebacker. Correct, that he did. It's interesting, Coach. You don't I feel like you don't see that as much. We talked about this too. Rod and I talked about this. If you look at some of the best defensive backs, for example, that Dwayne Aquina had while he was at Texas, a lot of those guys, whether it was Ahmad Brooks or Adrian Phillips. A lot of those guys, Aaron Williams was an offensive skill player in high school. A lot of those guys were high school quarterbacks. Like now in the spread, everybody's running some form of spread. You just don't see that as much anymore, where guys will play a certain position in high school and you're having to make that conversion when they get to college.
Yeah, that's a great point. They're so specialized today, and there's so much off-season development in positions that you don't hardly ever see teams recruit somebody. Remember, they used to just be labeled as an athlete, just an athlete. You very rarely see that anymore because not many kids are playing both ways anymore, and it's hard to project, somebody that only played receiver in high school as being a DB or a great quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You might project them maybe as a wide receiver, but teams aren't really running the option much anymore. So you don't see those kind of athletes at quarterback anymore. And if you do, they're in a spread offense, and they're going to be a quarterback in college. That's a great point. I think that's just the evolution of high school football.
No, even in the primitive days, even before, zone read was a thing, when Rich Rod was kind of doing it, he was one of the first to do it. Coach, it used to be, hey, who's our best athlete? All right, so let's line up in the gun and snap it to him, and he can just do whatever. It's almost like a direct snap to a tailback. Like I was in the kind of the primitive spread days. You don't even see that much anymore. All right, Cube coming through with a super chat. Thank you, All Right Cube, for the super chat. Much appreciated. So Texas only has a couple of the top in-state players this cycle. Possibly a good sign that our recruiting is going national, a la Ohio State. Coach, don't want to get specific with recruiting on this, but it's interesting when you look at the state. I've said this for a few years now. I don't, with the population growth and the population dynamics in this state, I don't think it'll ever be like it was, back in the early to mid 2000s when Mac really had just a iron fence around the state of Texas. I just don't think it's like that anymore. And Coach, I don't, the further along we go, I don't know that it matters, because I think we're getting to the point where fewer and fewer kids in the state of Texas were born and raised here, to where they don't necessarily grow up wanting to play for Texas or Texas A&M or Baylor. They might want to get back to where family is, or maybe they grew up a Penn State fan or an Ohio State fan or whatever. The dynamics are so different. I'm not saying that it's not important to get the top in-state talent. I just don't know that it's quite the big deal, the be all end all that it used to be.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's true for a couple of reasons. One is you used to only have 3 stations in ESPN that showed football games, and now you've got, the coverage is so vast that, a program like Texas obviously has national recognition, as does, Ohio State, obviously, and a lot of other good teams. But, 2 of the probably, for sure, the top 5 running backs in the history of Texas are from California.
Yep.
So I think the brand that Texas has is very attractive to people nationwide. And I think the staff that they have obviously does a great job of recruiting. But, it used to be that, you recruited kids in Texas. I remember there was one point, during Mac's tenure, I can't remember what year it was, but there was not an out-of-state guy on the roster.
Yeah.
Not one. I don't remember what year that was. But also, to your point, Mac would tell us, don't offer a kid unless you want him. Because if you offer a kid, he's going to commit. So you better make sure we want him before you offer him. Now, the days of, it's not a committable offer is I never have agreed with that. I never have liked that one bit. I remember, I'm not going to say his name, but a coach at Arkansas, head coach there, offered one of our players, and then pulled the rug out on the offer when he tried to commit, and that was the first time I'd ever run into that. And I said, don't ever come to Vernon again. You'll never get one of our kids, But I think the days of NIL has really opened up, where it's not a problem, because you used to be able to say, yeah, you want to stay in Texas where your parents can come watch you play. Now in the days of NIL, a kid can fly his parents in, to every game if he wants to, no matter where they're playing.
Coach, if it's the same coach I'm thinking about, your kid was one of several that happened to in that cycle. And there is a well-known coach in the greater San Antonio era who shall remain nameless that said if he had it his way, that coach would never set foot in any high school in the greater San Antonio area ever again. So
exactly.
Yeah, I think people can maybe connect the dots and kind of figure out who we're talking about. CB's got an interesting one for you, Coach. Said, Coach, was Texas always Jordan's dream school, or was there another school?
I want to be honest with you. Texas was always my dream school. I had a man that was kind of like a dad to me in Burnett, that his son today is one of my best friends. But He's no longer with us. He and his wife both went to Texas, and he took me to all the Texas games Earl Campbell's senior year, and I just fell in love with it. Everything about the university I loved. And so it wasn't really that big a deal to Jordan. I think he almost went to Tech. But I tell you, the difference was, I don't know if Jordan would agree with this, but in my mind, Major Applewhite was a GA when Jordan was being recruited. And when we were up there one time, and I was really, really honest with Major off to the side, one-on-one, and said, man, he's really, Wes Welker's working really hard. Wes was, with the Patriots at that time, and maybe at the Dolphins, I can't remember. But anyway, he was making a lot of noise in the NFL. And Major Applewhite said, Jordan, if you want to catch 100 passes a year or whatever, yeah, go to Tech. But if you want to come and play against the best DBs in the country every day and hone your skills to be ready for a career in the NFL, you need to come to Texas. And that was, in my mind, the point where Jordan thought, that's exactly right. My goal is to not go catch a bunch of passes. My goal is to sharpen my skills against the best DBs in the country every day at practice. I think that was a flipping point for Jordan, in his recruitment. And once he got there, it was, it was just, he loved every bit of it. He loved everything about it. It still does to this day. And I couldn't be prouder to have two boys play for the university. I remember Ken Dabbs was a recruiting coordinator when I was in high school. And I kept waiting on an offer. Baylor was recruiting me. They didn't offer me either. I think I told the other guys on the live stream that I had one hiccup in my road. I was just one thing, and at Texas, and that was talent. That was the only obstacle I couldn't overcome. So I remember when my head coach was good friends with Ken Dabbs, and he called him, and he called me the day before signing day and said they weren't going to offer me, and I literally was wiping tears off of my cheeks, because it was my dream. The first person to come see me when I got to Texas in 2013 was Ken Dabbs, and he said, "Coach, you finally made it," and we just had a great hug. It was an incredible moment. He's passed away since, but he was a great man, and he made it a point. He never forgot that. He made a point to come see me when I got there, and I'll always cherish that.
I love it, Coach. That's good stuff. All right, let's. We need to thank another one of our sponsors here, real quick. Jordan Scruggs is going to join us here in a little bit. So if you got recruiting questions, get them lined up. Jordan will be here in just a little bit. But right now, I want to take this opportunity to let everybody know that this edition of On Texas Football is brought to you by Prize Picks. We are in the dog days of summer, but as our colleague CJ Vogel says, June is the most underrated sports month on the calendar. No matter what you're watching, baseball, WNBA, World Cup, whatever it is, Prize Picks adds more fun to it. Now, every possession, every at bat, you're locked in from start to finish, and you're not just watching anymore. You got a little bit of juice in the game. And the best part about Prize Picks is it's easy. You're just picking more or less on player stats. Build your lineup, submit it, and then you're good to go. It takes about a minute to go through that whole process. You can go across multiple sports if you want, or if you just like one, you can ride with it. Whatever's on, it's going to work. We already hit our picks today as we took both Mbappe and Messi to score a goal. Sure enough, they did, so we are rolling. We trusted our gut, locked it in. That's exactly what you do with Prize Picks. Now, every single moment actually means something. Prize Picks is available in all 50 states, including right here in the great state of Texas. So if you haven't jumped in yet, now is the time. Just download the app, use the code HMA, play $5, and you'll get $50 in lineups instantly. Again, the code is HMA when you download the Prize Picks app. You use the code HMA5, get you 50. It's that simple. And as always, please remember, play smart, play responsibly, play Prize Picks. All right, Coach, we got a couple of super chats to get to. Actually, let's go ahead and get to a couple of those. Let's see. We got all right cubed out of the way. Thank you, guys. Brandon with another super chat. Thank you so much. Said, Jeff and Coach, throw me a curveball. Give me the good and the bad. What may be to come on both sides of the ball? If we do good and bad with overall record or whatever, go into some form of detail, just something. So, Coach, Brandon's just thirsty for football, period. Just wants something. Coach, is it too simple to say that, talent's not going to be the thing that holds this team back? It's going to be like the attention to detail stuff, penalties. Are you buttoned up in the kicking game? I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong. I just feel like we're way past the talent discussion at this point.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that's a great point. The useless penalties, jumping off sides, illegal procedure, and that kind of stuff. I mean, when you're leading the nation almost in penalties, I don't know if we led them or not, but we were up there. That's very difficult to overcome, even with great talent. But to me, the key on defense is going to be our linebacker play. I mean, I think our defensive front is talented and they have depth. I think our secondary has a chance to be a great secondary. We have great edge guys. The question mark is the linebackers, and that is not a great concern, but it is the concern for me on defense. Offensively, of course, it comes down to the offensive line, and that's the bad because we don't know. We thought we knew last year. We just believed in what the coaches were saying, and the first game we realized we got a problem. We got a big problem here, and so I think the potential of this team. I hate to go into hypotheticals. You have to at this time of year. That's the only thing there is to talk about. But all the hype this team got last year was just. I just wasn't buying it. I have to see it. I actually, I drank the Kool-Aid for a while, and then once I saw that offensive line, I thought, man, we've got some big, big problems. If we can get that situation settled and we're good at running the football, I think this team has a great upside.
Yeah, if you want to go beyond, the penalties and stuff like that, and I'm with you, Coach. You don't have to be Indiana. You don't have to be buttoned up to where you're leading the country in fewest penalties. You just can't be butt naked last in the power forward like you were last year. That's just not going to cut it. If we're going beyond that, the two positions that I say, hey, if these aren't, where they need to be, if these aren't up to snuff, it's probably gonna be the same stuff that held this team back last year. It's the offensive line and it's the pass defense. I know we look at safety just in terms of there's a lot of unproven commodities there, but I just think that's what it boils down to. Yeah, there's several reasons why Sark made the coordinator change that he made on defense to bring Will Muschamp back. Ultimately is, hey, can you get the pass defense fixed? Like you're aggressive and you may give up some stuff, but hey, I need you to make some plays too. If you can make enough to cancel out the stuff you're going to give up, okay, we can live with that. But we can't just live up with death by 1,000 paper cuts and teams just driving it down the field. And like you said, Coach, with the offensive line, that's why we had on our sideline debate on the site this weekend. The question was which former 5-star prospect has the most to prove. I said it's Brandon Baker, because if that offensive line isn't markedly better, we can talk about arch and running backs and skill. We can talk about all that we want. If the offensive line isn't markedly better than it was last year, none of that stuff really matters.
Yeah, that's a great point. I love corners that go to safety. I mean, they're natural cover guys, and you don't have the big run support safeties like you used to have.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that we got some corners moving to safeties, and it goes without saying, Jeff. We got to avoid the penalty bug. I mean the injury bug as well. The good thing is we've got, I think, a good receiver room. I think we've got a good running back room. But if you start having injuries at the running back position, which we've had for the last few years, you're going to have some young guys step up. And I like the guys in that room. I think they can. Arch is they're going to have to be selective when he runs. He's going to have to be selective when he runs. He's going to have to be careful. But, I like those young guys at quarterback too. They don't have the experience that Arch has. There's going to be a learning curve for them if they have to go in and are forced to play because of an injury to Arch. But, it took Arch, half a season, maybe a little bit longer to kind of find his stride and kind of get to where, what game was it where he kind of broke out?
I think the second half of the Mississippi State game was the one.
Yeah, that's right. Second half Mississippi State. Yeah, that's it. And you can't have a guy come in that's basically untested with the schedule that we're going to have next year and give him half a season to, get his legs under him and make things churn. So Arch is obviously the key to that offensively. And, defensively, our edge guys got to stay healthy as well. Well, we just have to stay healthy all the way across. Who am I kidding?
No doubt. That's part. You gotta have a little bit of luck involved. You're gonna be the last team standing. All never helps. Sometimes better be lucky than good. We'll see if Texas can do that. Brandon, I hope that whetted the appetite. And we'll get to Jordan, get your recruiting questions lined up. We'll get to that in just a minute. But before we do that, I want to thank another one of our sponsors here on the Monday Night Live Stream. That's our friends over at Hargrove Roofing, with offices across Texas, including in Austin, as well as Louisiana and Arkansas. Hargrove Roofing will take care of all of your roofing needs. Plus, they're Longhorn friendly with partners like former defensive tackle Stevie Lee. They're the most pro burnt orange roofing company out there. Nobody wants to turn their home over to a company they can't trust. So call Hargrove today for a free, no strings attached roof inspection. Just call 512-645-3202. 512-645-3202. Hargrove Roofing. Know who's on your roof. And joining us now from his domicile is on Texas football, recruiting analyst, recruiting reporter, Jordan Scruggs. Jordan, we talked about it today. You and Hank South and I did. It is a massive week. Matthew, we can go ahead and put up that graphic for this week. Starting tomorrow, Jordan, we've got an expected commitment announcement every day, Tuesday through Saturday. It starts with Kyron Brown tomorrow, goes through Montre Jackson on Saturday. Jordan, which of these announcements intrigues you the most as we sit here getting ready to kick this thing off?
I got to go with Neiman Lawrence or Junior Tupou. With Neiman Lawrence, I mean, quarterback premium position. That's, also kind of the future of the program post Diabell / KJ Lacey. So definitely Neiman. And then with Tupou, safety, it's a huge need this cycle. They definitely have, I think, question marks about the future of the safety room that are going to have answers, come November, December. They could also maybe, result in Texas going after Samaj Stanford again, or making a last-minute push for Honor Faleve Johnson or Jaquan Snell, the five-star Texas A&M safety commit. So with Junior Tupou, I like his game a lot. He has a lot of experience playing corner, but is expected to play safety at the collegiate level, and a lot of versatility there. Could also be kind of a jumbo nickel. If they hold on to Greedy James, then, Greedy will probably hold down the nickel spot in the class, but definitely have my eyes on those two. And then tomorrow is when the fireworks should start off with Kyron Brown. He'll be making his decision around 1:30 p.m. Down at his high school, Palo Duro High School. So should be, some good news coming this way around early afternoon tomorrow.
Jordan, we've gotten a couple recruiting questions. One earlier in the live stream was about Monson and Sales and Easton Royal. Both guys were on campus over the weekend. Is those two guys being in the Texas class, is that more realistic, you think, after the weekend, or what's your take on Texas getting both, maybe the top two receivers in the country in the 27 cycle?
Yeah, I think it's definitely more realistic. Easton Royal, his family, they've been down to Austin plenty of times before this, but with Monson Sales, he had already been to Austin. However, the OV was his mom's first time in Austin, so hard to win a recruitment without having the mom on your side. I think, Texas is doing a good job working towards that. But with those two, yeah, it's realistic. They can land both of them. Texas has the money to do it. But I think it ultimately comes down to the front office, Brandon Harris, Steve Sarkisian, everyone making the decision that, hey, remember 2 years ago in 2025, signed 2 5-star receivers. That was dead money for a season. They did not play. Now, I think Easton Royal brings a lot more year-one impact ability than Khalil Lockett or Jamie French did, but it's 2 5-star receivers again who will be dead money again to some degree. So the fact that players, even a 5-star receiver 2 years ago, was cheaper than it is now, I think that could be part of the discussion. So I think numbers will play a big role, and also timing of things. Easton Royal, I think it goes down to December no matter what. If he makes an announcement in July that his recruitment shut down, I still think it goes till December. John Summerall and Lane Kiffin aren't going to stop recruiting him because of some graphic. Like that's not how it works for guys this good. So that being said, I think it's more realistic. It's one or the other than both. But hey, Steve Sarkisian, he's pulled it off, 2 5-star receivers in a class before. He could very well do it again.
And Jordan, you got anything on Landon Williams-Callis, the really, really talented running back, one of the top running backs in the state in this cycle, who also visited Texas over the weekend?
Yeah, so he took 8 official visits. At this point, I'd be pretty surprised if he didn't end up at Texas, Texas A&M, Oregon, Houston, or SMU. At this point, I think it's trending more towards staying in state, playing in the state of Texas. So we'll see with Oregon. That would be interesting if he ended up there, given his cousins Jason and Jaquiz Rogers. So yeah, but Texas and Texas A&M is who I think this comes down to. I went back, actually. I'm working on an update on Landon Williams-Callis right now that I should have out once I get off this live stream. But you go back and listen to an interview I did with Landon Williams-Callis. It was after Texas offered him out of camp after his freshman year, getting ready to go into his sophomore year. And this was a kid who went into his first day of a freshman year at high school with 12 offers already. Like, he blew up early because he was running like 10.6 as a seventh grader. So he's been a known commodity for a while. But we asked him, are there any early standouts? And he said Texas, Texas A&M, Ohio State. Ohio State was a big one he had a lot of interest in. They've been trending for David Gabriel Georges for a long time, though. He's one of two running backs ranked ahead of Landon Williams-Callis. They're likely to get him. They've kind of backed out of the Williams-Callis recruitment for months now. But I think this comes down to Texas, Texas A&M. I think Texas has reasons for optimism. Big thing for Landon is he wants to play year one, and he wants a proven path to being drafted into the NFL. In the 2023-2022 drafts, I believe it was, the first two running backs selected were Texas Longhorns. Yes, Tashard Choice is gone. The Steve Sarkisian offense is still there, so is Sark. So there's so many things they can pitch, I think, that will resonate well, that have resonated well. And also hearing through the grapevine today as well, through some OTF sourcing, that Texas should be very competitive here financially. So that being said, I think this is making or shaping up for Texas to make a run here. A&M, Oregon definitely dominated the conversation the last year, but Texas, they've always had his interest, kept his interest, even through 3 different running back coaches. And I don't want to give a prediction saying I think Texas will win out, but I think they're going to be the pick or will be the runner-up, second-place finisher. So we'll see
Jordan,
how that goes.
If you have to compare Neiman Lawrence to a quarterback, who would you compare him to?
It's a great question. I've seen him in person. I've never seen him throw in person. So I'd have much more confidence in giving a comparison. But I think there's some similarities to Dia Bell. I think Dia is a better athlete. He's taller. He weighs more. He's longer. But the ability to navigate the pocket, more of an athletic pocket passer than a true dual threat, kind of similar to however you Arch Manning. And I mean, it's kind of sticking to the theme. Ty Newton's kind of the same way. Not a dual threat, but pure pocket passer with some athletic ability, scramble ability. So that is a great question. Give me some time on that, and I'll try to come up with a better one that might not be, so lazy as a comparison, I should say.
All right, Jordan, we'll let you get back to it. Go finish that Landon Williams-Callis update and keep on the grind covering recruiting the way you do over at OnTexasFootball.com. Thank you for the time tonight, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, there goes Jordan Scruggs. Hey, nobody's got more boots on the ground covering recruiting in the Texas market than the OTF staff. You're not getting more intel from anybody else than you're getting from the OTF staff, and Jordan is a big part of that. Worked with Jordan for a while. Happy to be working with him again. So, again, get over on TexasFootball.com and check out everything that Jordan is doing over there. Coach, got a couple more super chats to get to before we're done tonight, but one more time, just want to thank another one of our sponsors. A shout out to Von Lane. If you're in the Woodlands or North Houston and you've ever driven to Austin for work, a meeting at the Capitol, weekend on a UT campus, you know the drill. 3+ hours on 290, construction zones. You show up drained before your day even starts. Von Lane just launched, thankfully, a new route between Austin and the Woodlands that changes all of that. You sit back in a first-class leather seat, connect to Starlink Wi-Fi, and you arrive ready to go. And Longhorn football fans, you can book game day trips right now through October, so make sure you get on it. For Austin folks, the Woodlands route opens up easy access to concerts, family visits, and business in the area, all without battling Houston traffic yourself. Who doesn't love that? And unlike the airlines, Von Lane doesn't charge you extra for seat assignments or your luggage or Wi-Fi that barely works. you get one of 22 oversized leather seats, Starlink internet that's actually fast, complimentary snacks, drinks, hot towel service, and meals on select departures. You walk into a hotel terminal, skip the TSA circus, and ride in comfort. That's it. No games with Von Lane. Von Lane serves Austin, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Fort Worth, Plano, the Woodlands, Nashville, Memphis, and Atlanta. Head to vonlane.com and enter the promo code OTF26. That's OTF26 for $20 off your first ride. Von Lane is a private jet on wheels.
You know, it's interesting, Jeff. Heritage High School, Fort Lauderdale, Diabell, of course, from that high school, as is Andrew Beck, who was a linebacker at Texas and is still playing in the NFL as a tight end fullback. I think he's a fullback now for the New York Jets, if I'm not mistaken, from Heritage High School.
Andrew Beck, coach, is still, yes, he is still with the New York Jets. I think CB or somebody asked about him or mentioned him earlier in the chat, coach. We're talking about position changes. And I remember him coming out of the Tampa area. He was a linebacker, Texas and Stanford, and I think there was maybe a third in there.
Was he not from Heritage High School?
No, I believe Andrew Beck was Plant High School in Tampa.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But, hey, we don't need an excuse to talk about Andrew Beck, coach, because to CB's point, it came in as – I wish I could remember who the third – I think it was Texas and Stanford, though, or maybe his last two. He commits to Texas as a linebacker. Back when Manny Diaz was still the defensive coordinator, that's how long ago Andrew Beck made his verbal commitment to Texas, and that makes me feel old thinking about how long ago that was. But, you know, coach, it's one of those deals. He gets on campus, and he's in linebacker. And, you know, Charlie Strong did something that I can't remember a Texas coach doing before or since. They split it when you could still have two-a-days. They split it, but they had the veterans work out in the morning, and then the freshmen worked out in the evening. And I remember being up there, that field right next to the bubble. They had all the guys running the gauntlet drill. And Beck goes through, and I'm like, man, he's got the best hands out of all these guys. Maybe. And after watching the guys this morning, he may have some of the best hands on the team. And I remember telling somebody, I said, I don't think Beck's going to be a linebacker much longer. And sure enough, it was about 2 days later, Sean Watson ends up moving him to tight end and ends up being an all Big 12 guy. Really, really important piece, not just for Charlie Strong, but for Tom Herman as well. That 2018 team that ended up winning 10 games and won a Sugar Bowl, Beck was a really big part of that. And yeah, just the kind of guy, coach, you feel good for him, just knowing the kind of person he is, the kind of family he comes from, the fact that it's an endangered species. The fullback is almost extinct, but Andrew Beck's still cashing checks playing that position. I love it.
Yeah, he is. If I'm not mistaken, his father was military, and I was with Beck for a few years at Texas, and you're right, he is a class individual. In fact, I think if I'm not mistaken, he won an award. He won the Denver Broncos Salute to Service Award, which recognized exceptional efforts to support and honor the military and community. So yeah, he's a class guy.
He and I talked about one time. Now I'm not going to dox Andrew Beck. I don't know if he still has the same number, but at the time he had a phone with a 254 area code, and you know, I was like, oh yeah, I said, which Killeen school are you? He's like, well, how do you know about Killeen? I was like, dude, I'm from Florence. Like, I have a 254 area code too. So, and he's like, yeah, when his dad was stationed at Fort Hood, he would have gone to Harker Heights. So I was like playing that game. Guys that have that area, like, okay, what if you would have stayed? Which high school would you have gone to? It's either going to be Harker Heights or Copper's Cove, more likely.
I remember that because I came from Belton. I was there when we were recruiting him in 2013. And then I came back in 2017. And I remember him talking about Killeen and Belton.
Good stuff. Love the Centroplex. It's still at my heart here. All right, let's get to the couple of these super chats. Justin Yarborough, Justin always coming through with the super chat, much appreciated. So what do y'all think the lowest era in college football is, to bring our discussion full circle? I don't think it's now. I don't like a lot of the politics with NIL, but I like what it's done to make it exciting in season and off season. You know, Coach, probably I would just say before the pre-TV era, because I don't, you know, unless you research as if you're of a certain age, you just always grown up with college football on TV. But you got to go back to the court case with the NCAA in Georgia and OU. I think it was 1984, 85. you only had, if you could only play on national TV a certain number of times a year, and it wasn't, TV was not, even cable was not the behemoth it is now. I think at that point, Coach, college football was a niche sport pre TV era. So that would probably be it. Not to say the product was bad. It's just there's a lot of really good football that just didn't get seen unless you were actually going to the games.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, I would not be the person to ask about that because I always watch Texas. Mm-hmm. And so that is a huge influence on, the lowest era. And if you ask about the lowest era in Texas football, that's a different thing. I remember I coached a kid at Temple High School that went to Texas. And the year that Miami came in and beat them in the Cotton Bowl, I believe it was Miami, beat them unmercifully. It was in the State Fair Cotton Bowl. Mm-hmm. And Miami was taunting, and I mean, they were just like, that's when they had all those outlaws on that team. And I mean, I can't remember how bad they beat Texas, but it was really, really ugly. That was kind of a low point for me for the Texas era. But I just have a tainted view of college football because I really only cared about Texas.
Coach Champ says, may not believe it, but radio was great back then. Yeah. That was, baseball was a big radio sport at one point in time. So, hey, I'll say this too. Texas is fortunate enough. #for Craig. Texas fans, I don't think you know how fortunate enough you are to have Craig Way. Because I'll tell you this, Coach. I think it was one of the games. I want to say it was maybe the game in Lubbock in 2012. And I'm listening to, I've got satellite radio going. I'm listening to all these games on the radio, and I'm just listening to homer calls after homer calls. I mean, not even trying to hide it, just blatant. I'm like, I hope Texas fans appreciate how professional Craig is on these broadcasts, because you get some characters on some of these play-by-play and color analyst teams for other schools, Coach. No, it's good stuff. Somebody, I don't want to mention what Erikowitz did, but yeah, like early 1900s, probably not the safest time to play football. I do think if we're talking about player safety, Coach, I think we've probably changed a lot in the last 100+ years. I'll give football that.
Oh my goodness. The teeth that were knocked out, the noses that were broken.
Oh man, leather helmets. Yeah. Some people, that's good stuff. Like, no, I'm much rather have it, where it's a collision sport. So yeah, it's much rather have it the way it is now. Shyhorn says peak. I think this is a good one to end it on, Coach. Shyhorn, thank you. Justin, thank you for the super chat. Shyhorn coming through the super chat. Thank you for that. Peak college football, January 25th, 2027. For those unaware, that is the college football playoff national championship. It's interesting, Coach. We're talking about NIL and all this other stuff. Got the title game in Vegas this year. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great thing about college football. Next year is just around the corner.
I don't know what that says about where we're at, but that's where we're at. So Vegas will be the title game. We'll see if Texas has what it takes and the Longhorns do what it takes to get there. Yeah, Marco, we're Coach. I don't know. We'll. I think this is a movie that CJ hadn't seen, but Marco says, Coach Bud Kilmer, can he play? Coach, I don't know if you watched Varsity Blues when it came out. Some stuff, it depends. I was in my teenage years at the time, so I loved it. I don't know if you had a take on it as a high school football coach in Texas at the time when that thing came out.
No, I really didn't. I didn't pay much attention to it. I really didn't. Friday Night Lights was the one that kind of got my attention. I just, it was more realistic and something that all of us in Texas could relate to, Odessa Permian at that time. I remember when I was in college at Abilene Christian watching Coach Wilkins come in with Permian, and a buddy of mine at college was from Permian. He said, you know what AG Wilkins, you know what AG stands for, don't you? And I said, I have no idea. And he said, almost God. And that was, basically a true story, the story of that movie. So Varsity Blues didn't move the needle much for me.
As with most things in life, Coach, the movie, you can take it or leave it. if you want to know Friday Night Live Story, go read the book. The book is it still holds up even in the year of our Lord 2026. I've got one more super chat. Aceman85 getting in right before the buzzer said, "No wonder Tech wanted Source be so bad. They knew he'd be able to put the winning bet down in Vegas in the championship game." I think that is probably the best way we can wrap this one up. Coach, got your anniversary. Happy anniversary to you and the missus. Glad is moving over. Did you guys get everything moved at least?
You know, we moved from a smaller house to a pretty good sized house, and we've got a lot of stuff in storage. We moved everything from that house over, and it doesn't seem like we moved anything yet. Just beds. So
well,
it's a beat down, man.
Well, we'll let you go get back after it, Coach. Thank you for the knowledge and the intel and the expertise as always. Hey, huge thank you to Matthew behind the scenes producing it, the MVP at On Texas Football, doing the great job that he does. I want to thank our sponsors one more time. Our lead sponsor tonight was Von Lane. Also, shout out to Hargrove Roofing and Prize Picks. If you're not a member over at OnTexasFootball.com, we had Jordan Scruggs on with us earlier. You're not getting better, more in-depth, more boots-on-the-ground recruiting intel than the OTF staff has to offer. New subscribers, take advantage of our limited-time offer, $3 for your first 3 months of access over to OnTexasFootball.com. This deal will not last forever, so make sure you get over to the site and get signed up for your free access at OnTexasFootball.com. Again, 3 months of access for just $3 over to OnTexasFootball.com. Hey, before we're done tonight, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure that you're subscribed to the On Texas Football YouTube channel. And make sure you got your notifications set. It's a busy, busy week. So you want those notifications set so that way anytime we go live or we drop a new video, you're not going to miss any of our Longhorn coverage or breaking news, and you'll stay on top of everything happening on the 40 acres with On Texas Football. I want to thank everybody for keeping it lively in the chat tonight. Thank you especially for the super chats. As always, CJ Vogel and I will be back tomorrow night on the normal Tuesday night live stream. Coach Shipley will be back with Rod and CJ on Thursday. The normal Winning Drive crew will be back in full force on Thursday. If you got any questions, comments, concerns, and we didn't get them in tonight, you can direct them tomorrow morning to the guys at Coffee and Football bright and early when they get our coverage started here at On Texas Football tomorrow morning. So for Coach Shipley, for Matthew, for the entire On Texas Football staff, I'm Jeff Howe. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And until next time, welcome. Yes.